Hi, in this video we're going to talk about how to create a great proposal. We'll cover a few topics. First, we'll just go through some basic definitions around proposal writing. Then we'll talk about some things to do prior to writing a proposal. Then we'll talk about some steps and general rules of thumb to writing proposals. And we'll wrap up with some summary. So first of all, some basic definitions. Well, one of the terms that we often hear in business is RFP, which is a request for proposal, and this is the prospect's attempt to reach out to vendors, companies, individuals who may provide services to them. So this is where they define what it is that they want and in the time frames that they want it. Another term that's out there is RFI, which is request for information, and often an RFP is preceded by an RFI. RFI serves multiple purposes. It could be the prospect's attempt at just kind of understanding what is out there, who the competition is that's out there. They may be looking for ideas to go ahead and include in a subsequent RFP. They may also be trying to collect information really just to decide if they really do want to release the RFP or not. Perhaps they will, perhaps they won't. But if an RFI does come out in advance of an RFP, it's a good idea to participate in the RFI process, even if you're not quite sure yet if you're going to participate in the RFP process. T's and C's is another term that's out there. T's and C's are the legal terms and conditions that the prospect lays out in the RFP. Sometimes these terms and conditions are negotiable, sometimes they're not. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Scope is another term that you hear quite a bit, and it's important to pay attention to. Scope is really what the proposed work will include. And if the prospect doesn't define the scope in the RFP, then you certainly want to define it in your response, because you've got to have boundaries around what just exactly it is that you're going to do for the prospect. Requirements are also included in the RFP, and there are various categories of the requirements. So one category are the requirements of just the proposal submission itself. So the kinds of things that you have to do just to be able to submit your proposal. These are things like the timeline, the media, the format, the number of copies to be submitted. Those sorts of things are proposal submission requirements that you need to pay attention to. Vendor requirements are basically looking for requirements of the company or the individual that could be potentially providing services or products. So these could be experience, could be the size of the company, the number of years in business, those sorts of things. So it's usually around attributes or characteristics of the business that could be providing the service itself. Then there are business requirements, and business requirements really define what functions and services and timelines around which the services will be provided. And then there's technical requirements, which is kind of the sister to the business requirements, and that's really if there's going to be a software or application involved, what does the system need to do, what's the technical infrastructure need to look like. Those sorts of things are technical requirements. So all of those things are components of an RFP. And by the way, here we're talking about RFP, writing proposals in response to an RFP. But you don't always have to do that. One of the best ways to grow your business is, particularly if you already have a client established, is to continuously submit unsolicited proposals. So be thinking about what else you could be doing for a client, what else would add value for that client, and be submitting those proposals without an RFP. But the rest of this presentation, we're really talking about proposals through an RFP process.